What makes an excellent leader? And are they really that scarce? And what do they do to merit such exceptional compensation? Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. Your host is one of the world's leading experts on international leadership. She's a master certified coach and facilitates a mastermind for CEOs of international companies. She's the author of 3 books, Abrasive Leaders, Global Nomadic Leaders, and Managing Brilliant Jerks. She has worked with Nestle, Novartis, and even the United Nations. She's especially good at helping executives fast track to the C-suite. Welcome, Dr. Katrina Burris.
Welcome to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Katrina Burris, and today we are going to interview Mark Grainger, and he is an impact and influence expert for women speakers. Mark, welcome.
I'm delighted to be here, Dr. Katrina.
So tell us, how did you get into this expertise?
Well, I think the key to understand with that is I think there's two types of people, well, maybe 3 types of people in the world. There are those that don't know their purpose, those that are discovering their purpose, and those that have been living their purpose. And I've been very fortunate to have been living my purpose for many, many years. And as you do that, you evolve as a person. And as that, you're also seeking knowledge and wisdom and guidance, mentors, and all of that usually allows things to unfold. And as a marketer, as a scalability expert, I've learned that it's extremely important that you put your unique work out into the world that is in alignment with your soul and the marketplace. So that's really what I help women experts do, is align what's going on in their heart and their soul and their skill set and aligning it with the marketplace so that they can become financially wealthy.
So tell us, how can a man support women leaders?
Well, I think it's shifting right now. What we're seeing on the world right now is over the many, many years, the masculine energy of, linear thinking and focused effort to produce has created an infrastructure that's amazing. I mean, we have an infrastructure now where we can communicate all across the world on video and audio. We have airplanes and cars. And I mean, what we've been able to do has been amazing. And now we're moving into a world to where people need and want businesses to serve something beautiful and powerful and healing. And so business and marketing and communication is moving to an emotional energy. And this plays to the gifts of women. So ultimately, men who are not investing in the up level of women's skills and up leveling of women, all kinds of women, LGBTQ, women of color, all kinds of women. The more men can invest in women, the more they are going to get the dividends from that investment, and the more the world is going to reap those benefits.
So you found your purpose, but how did you find your purpose to be oriented towards women?
Well, I think it comes down to, you have to do an inventory of who you really are. So it really comes down to really a deep sense of personal awareness, Dr. Katrina. And I think where that comes from is looking at your wounds and looking at your wisdom and looking at your skills. And so as I look back, in my 20s was a big time of discovery for me. I was trying to get clear of what it is I wanted to take out into the world, what I wanted to do in the world. And I landed as a senior account executive in radio, writing radio ads and really understanding the power of a message. I remember one particular holiday Christmas, we were doing a promotion for Toys for Tots. And we had 2 big, long school buses at a local mall. And we were using the power of radio to have people come in and donate either money or toys. And this was like a 4-day drive. And I remember being there, and I'd only been there maybe 20 minutes. And a 4-year-old girl comes by with her family. And she comes up into the bus, and it's like half full of toys, like a child's dream, right? And she hands me a $20 bill, and she almost has a little tear in her eye. And she says, I want to help other little girls have a Christmas that have the Christmas I get to have. And I want to make sure that this money helps them. And it just really touched me. Here's a bus of, 3 or 4 men, businessmen, and we're getting touched and moved by this 4-year-old girl. And I started seeing how I was raised with a mom who was extremely talented and brilliant, but was not able to really put her power out into the world. She was a people pleaser. She was quite emotionally drained and depressed. But I also had the luxury of having a highly enlightened father who was emotionally intelligent. So really what I was given is the gift of both the masculine and the feminine. And when you understand how those work together to birth something new, as I began to look back, whether it was in high school or college or in my beginning of my career, the gravitation of the women that seemed to work the best with me, the ones there was the greatest rapport and the best results, were typically that female business owner, that female businesswoman who is over 40 and she's looking to reinvent herself and find the message that allows her to disrupt the industry she's been a part of. And if we can disrupt male-dominated industries with the heartfelt centered ideologies and biology of the rhythms of a woman, now we're really making real change in the world. So it just has been this unfolding of a path that's just gotten clearer and clearer for me over the years.
Interesting. And what would you say is the biggest challenge with women's leadership models?
Well, I think the biggest thing right now, the world, if you just take a moment to tune in. I remember when I was 9 years old, I was born and raised in Alaska. And I went fishing with my dad. We went halibut fishing one day out in the bay off of Homer, Alaska, where I was raised. And it's this beautiful place called Halibut Cove. It was gorgeous that day. The water was like glass. And we had been fishing for about an hour when a whale started to, about a couple hundred yards out, started to just kind of circle us. And after a few minutes, the whale turned towards our boat. And as it was getting closer and closer, I start reeling in. I'm like, Dad, that whale's getting closer. It's now 100 yards away, 50 yards away, 25 yards away, 50 feet away. And then it gets really silent. And there's this moment where you know it's coming close to the boat. And the whale came right up. And I literally was able to look down its blowhole. It went underneath the boat, came up the other side, and its big left eye was just staring at me like, we made this connection and my heart's pounding. I'm in awe. And then she just kind of sunk under the water and disappeared forever. Well, as I got older, I started to recognize that, all things that are alive, all life seeks to express and make connections. And so the challenge with most business models, if they have been around leadership, have been this command and control. They come very much from a military standpoint of a hierarchy. And what we're beginning to see is that model has ran its course. It is now more inclusive and working from the inside out and empowering people around you rather than having this, we're going to do it my way and the guru at the top of the mountain. And so the challenge with this is there's not a lot of models of how to make leadership work from the inside out or from this core nucleus of shared leadership. And so the models that need to be embraced now are the ones that play to the gifts of those people that are relational. What that means is using the power of the relationship, the connection, all right, like we're talking about that whale, to allow you to coach people, to honor people, to hear them, to respect diversity and differences, and allow the work culture to serve as a form of self-actualization. When a team is doing that and at the same time has the skill set and the focus to be profitable, now you're dealing with a business model and a leadership model that plays to the strengths of women.
So that leads nicely into my next question. And what can you suggest to women leaders to embrace to have more income, more impact, and more influence in this environment?
I think the biggest thing that women overlook when it comes to leadership is the power of their voice and the meaning of their message. And just like I said, I think I had like this imprint experience, Dr. Katrina, when I had that experience with that little girl in that bus as she came in and handed me that $20 bill. And what I began to see over the 4 days as we packed 2 buses full of toys and generated $50,000, that the power of a message has the ability to change the world. It has the ability to heal. And that is where I think in the hustle and bustle and in the trance of achievement of what we're supposed to do, make our way up the hierarchy, what's overlooked is the power of your message. What is it that lies within inside of you that's meant to be shared in the world? And then once the message is discovered, I think too few people, including women leaders, don't take the time to hone that message to make sure it's persuasive and impactful. It is not enough in the marketplace that we're in anymore to just be informative and have a knack for communication. You have to be a specialist and a master of the power of words and the ability to influence and to do that from a place of integrity in your heart.
And that's where you help women?
Absolutely. I mean, what we basically do is my wife and I are the co-founders of BigImactHQ. This is an accelerator for women-based businesses, specifically women who are generating anywhere from a couple 100,000 to almost $1 million. They're making multiple six figures. They'd like to get that to seven or multiple seven figures in their business. And they're really recognizing that they're at a place of reinvention. And with that reinvention, they're eager to disrupt their industry. And so we help women be able to determine their message, to communicate it more powerfully and persuasively, to then step into the leadership and building team and systems, and then ultimately scale your business so that it is investable, so that you have the options and choice of being able to exit. Nothing is more influential on this planet than a financially empowered woman with a message that lands with the masses. And that's what we help women do, is to move from this kind of business as usual, I'm going to do what everyone has done before me, and to break out of the mold of that system and carve something truly unique and special for you. And we're extremely good at being able to make that marketable so that your business becomes extremely profitable, so that you're moving into financial independence and choice in your life, so that you can take a stand to do the things that really make a difference on the planet.
So what are some of those tools that you use to create
Well,
that?
I think it depends on what you're talking about there. We have tools around speaking and really helping you be persuasive, and that changes as you move through the phases of your business. There's the tools we have around leadership and team and understanding what you need in the way of teams and system. And then there's the whole tool kit of being able to move from like a you operating system in your business where everything is dependent on you, where employees are asking you for permission, you're struggling with them taking ownership, you're pulled in 100 different directions. No one understands where you're going. No one understands what you're going through. It's very lonely. And on the outside looking in, you could seem very successful. And there might even be a significant amount of financial success. But behind the scenes, you're not really, your husband doesn't really get you, your kids don't understand you, your friends don't understand you. And it's very isolating and alone. And so there's also the inner game tools of learning how to deal with that isolation, that overwhelm, that depression that can overcome you from a level of success. So we start really with the tools of communication, of understanding the power of story, understanding the power of pauses, understanding the power of connecting and building a connection with the audience. Everyone has a story, and too few people, especially women, have taken the time to really articulate that story in a way in which it lands. I remember one of our rockstar clients, Jennifer Jost, financial planner. And when she came to us, it had been several years, but at 29 years old, she had separated from her husband because he was an alcoholic. And come to find out, not long after that, he had taken their 4-year-old and 6-year-old child hostage in an 11-hour hostage negotiation where he shot both children and then killed himself. And so here's this woman at 29 years old, and she's just this bright light, lost her 2 children and their father, all within a day. And a lot of people that would completely wipe out and they would be done for life. And she said, she was in this bereavement counseling group support system, and she saw this couple, and it had been 5 years since they had lost their daughter. And she said, they're a wreck. They were just like emotionally could not function in the world. And she's like, I can't do this. And so she came to us and she's like, how do I take this story of what happened to me and use it to empower women? And at the same time, use it to position myself as an expert in the financial coaching and the financial planning industry. She couldn't see how to make that connection. And that, I think, is one of the biggest keys, is understanding the nuances of communication and how that shifts from when you're speaking on stage and you're wanting to inspire the crowd, or you're speaking in front of investors and you're needing to inspire investment, or whether you're leading a team, or whether you're stepping into more of a platform of thought leadership and influencing the masses. Who you are as a communicator evolves, and that's extremely important. And then, of course, there's models. There's leadership models around how to communicate and problem solve with your employees and with the people, your staff that's helping you do that. And then there's a whole step of moving from a you operating system to a scalable operating system, which really allows the frameworks and the processes to serve as the leverage that frees you from the overwhelm of growing a successful business.
We also discussed early on what you meant by impact economy and how women leaders can best support the impact economy. And you also mentioned conscious capitalism and the possibility it represents for women. Please define those terms before you answer the question.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go out on a limb here because these are edgy topics that some people love and other people find ridiculous. And so this is a form of polarization that I think is really, really important. So the impact economy is really what we have moved into. This is being shown up through things like the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter. Not to get political here, but when you look at society and you start to see what are the needs of the masses, you start to see that there is a shift, that having men, and usually white men over 50, in the top of a tower dictating what is supposed to be done in the way of a business that impacts our economy, impacts our environment, impacts the lives of people and children. And there's not a lot of extra thought put to that. They're making decisions for the business, for the profit models. So there's a model, an old model that's getting old, that says the purpose of business is to create profit for its shareholders. And that no longer serves the greater good in the world. It serves the bottom line of that particular company, but it does not serve the greater good in the world. And so we've moved from an information economy, information, and all the information we need is at our fingertips. We can discover anything we need. Now we are looking for those leaders who can make sure that what they do with their business touches lives and impacts people. Whether that means you're elevating a person's consciousness, their emotional intelligence, whether you're helping whether you're using your business to help end child trafficking and sex trafficking, or whether you're using your business to heal the planet and heal the oceans. It doesn't matter. A higher purpose is required when running a business nowadays. And when you look at things like impact investing, this is a form of investing that is only about investing in businesses that aren't harming the planet. They're putting out, their output is sustainable. And this is really, really important because when you look at nature, it wastes nothing. Everything feeds into something else. And it's this beautiful circular thing that breeds life. And no longer can we have organizations that do that. It's going to kill this planet. And so the impact economy is having the leaders move from a place of higher purpose, as well as understanding how to make a profit. And profit is nothing more than an understanding of processes. Profitability, if you know how to build a business, you know how to be profitable. And when you know how to build a profitable business, building in that higher purpose, that impact, that social impact as part of your message and part of your culture, it's just common sense. So all of that being said is the impact economy. And we're really seeing that in things like finance, technology, broadcast media, digital marketing, traditionally male-dominated industries, even construction and development. And we're seeing more and more women leaders moving into that and doing it different. And that's what I'm most excited about. And so one of the best models for that comes from John Mackey of Whole Foods. And he coined a term called conscious capitalism. And conscious capitalism is really about how to build a profitable business that has at the forefront of that a social impact. And it helps you move from a shareholder model of business that says, let's maximize profit for our shareholders, to let's maximize the value of our stakeholders. And stakeholders are everyone. It's your vendors, it's your clients, it's your employees, it's your customers. It's all of the people that are part of the business. And how is everyone being elevated by their association with your company? And that's stakeholder orientation, making sure that people aren't getting screwed over by the way that you do business, but that they're being elevated by the way that you do business. And that's conscious capitalism. And there's 4 tenets of conscious capitalism. Number 1 is a higher purpose. Number 2 is stakeholder orientation. Number 3 is conscious leadership. This is what we focus a lot on with the women that we work with. And then ultimately, you're building, number 4, a conscious culture, which allows us to be an organism that very much mirrors the way nature operates in the world, and creating something of value in the world that doesn't leave some kind of shit behind.
Great. Thank you. Very interesting. We're coming to the end of our podcast, and I wanted to know, where can people get a hold of you?
So one of the best things to do, our program, our whole Speak, Lead, and Scale system with the Big Impact Accelerator, we love being able to work to develop, advise, and invest in women-based businesses. And our clients have gone on to generate over $75 million in their own businesses using these systems. So we're very proud and very honored and feel very lucky and grateful to have stumbled upon something that really resonates with a woman who's struggling to find her message and grow her business in the way that she knows.
So how can she contact you?
The best thing to do is head on over to speakerblueprints.com. That's with an S, speakerblueprints.com. We got a wonderful assessment there that will assess your knack of speaking and show you where you're really in your strengths. So you might be like Martin Luther King, or maybe like Lisa Nichols, who is an orator. You might be more like a Brene Brown, who is more of your professor. And understanding how your communication style is a wonderful gift. It allows you to get into our world so that we can give you content and opportunity to be able to learn what you need to be able to grow your business from multiple 6 figures into 7 figures.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very, very much. We would love to know what you thought of this podcast. Write us an email at drkatrina with a K at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. We would love to hear what you liked and what we could improve. This podcast has been sponsored by excellentexecutivecoaching.com.
Thank you for listening to the Excellent Executive Coaching Podcast. You can subscribe to all future podcasts at excellentexecutivecoaching.com. Join us each Wednesday to learn more about the latest trends in leadership techniques and bring your coaching to the next level. To learn more about Dr. Burris's CEO Mastermind, use the contact form at excellentexecutivecoaching.com.